Hi, my name's Linda Petroni. I'm a Thermix consultant and team leader in Sydney, New South Wales. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the Thermix TM6 in what we call our delivery briefing. This is mainly done with a Thermix consultant one-on-one, but if you can't get hold of your consultant or you're time poor, I would encourage you to watch this video so that you can get a quick overview, but then please reach out to your consultant for further ongoing learning and support. What I'm going to cover here is just a very quick overview, but it'll give you an opportunity to get started. So let's go. First thing I want to do is showcase to you the Thermix and what it looks like when you're going to take it out of the box. So in basic form, when you see it, this is what you're going to see. And it's the one unit with a lid attached and inside an internal basket. Underneath, you've got 3 feet, which also act as your scales and shock absorbers. So be mindful of these 3 feet. They're quite sensitive, but they actually support their in-house scaling scale function for you. It's important to give them a clean every now and then to ensure that the scale is working to its best. The other thing that I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about some of the accessories that come with the Thermix. Bring this up again. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to start with is what's called our spatula. And this is a Thermix design spatula. You'll notice that it's got a little bit of a hook here and it's got a safety guard here. What it's used for is when we take our Thermix lid off, inside our Thermix, we have what's called an internal simmering basket. And there's a little section in there where that particular little hook just hooks in. And what it does is enable you to lift out this simmering basket. And certain recipes will call for you to use this basket. And when it's hot, you don't want to be handling it with your hands. So that's where our spatula comes into it. It'll enable you to lift that basket out safely. You can flip back the lid, pour it either directly back to blend or pour it into another serving dish if that's what you need. And then it just releases very easily. So that's our basket and the hook on the spatula. The next thing that I'm going to show you about the spatula is something to do with the lid. Now, on our lid, Thermix lid, there's this hole in the center. And what sits in this hole is what we call our MC or measuring cup. It's a little bit of a design change from previous models. And you'll notice it's got these little sort of extended areas here at the top and the bottom. And these hook in nicely into the actual Thermix lid. And that ensures that the actual measuring cup stays intact. The other design feature of this particular measuring cup is that it's got a little spout at the top here. And that little spout and the gap underneath here is where the majority of the steam will come out. So where it's sitting on the Thermomix is quite important now, because if you've got overhanging cabinetry in your kitchen and the steam is coming out, you want to make sure that that spout is not faced towards the rear, because otherwise the steam will build up under your cabinets. So always make sure that the spout is facing forward and therefore the steam will release forward as well. So that's a little bit about the measuring cup and the lid, but I said I was going to get back to you with the spatula. The spatula's got a safeguard on it, and this safeguard is fabulous. What happens is there's certain recipes, like especially when you're working with, say, frozen ice or something like that, where it could just use that little extra hand to sort of move it around, tends to sort of stick together, especially with the stainless steel. Grab your spatula with the safety guard on it, and it can actually go inside the lid and it will stop where the safeguard is, and you can use it to turn around like this. And when you're turning it around, it just sort of helps things move around the bowl. But that's what that safeguard is there for. It means that the tip of your spatula will not actually hit the blade. So there you have it. There's our lid, our measuring cup, our spatula, and our internal basket. All right, taking our lid off now, I want to show you the inside. So inside our Thermomix, we've got one blade, and the one blade does everything. It works in a forward and a reverse mode. When it's in its forward mode, it's doing things like chopping, milling, grinding, basically pulverizing anything in its way. And our speeds on our Thermomix will determine the texture of the food when it's moving in its forward motion. When it works in its reverse motion, it's basically working on the blunt side of the blade, and it's just stirring and moving the food around. So forward and reverse, and then the different speeds to get the different textures that you're after. Now, as I said before, it's just one blade, and the Thermomix blade can actually be removed And it's a very simple process to remove the blade out of the actual Thermomix. It's sharp, so just be mindful. But all of these parts that come with your Thermomix can all go in the dishwasher. They are all dishwasher friendly. And no matter how good your dishwasher is and how great your rinse aid is, there could be sometimes left a little bit of water residue. So just make sure that if there is a little bit of water residue when you're bringing the bits and pieces out of your dishwasher, that you actually give that a little bit of a dry with a tea towel before you reassemble everything back together. So it's nice and dry when it's going back into the housing unit. So that's really important. Always be careful that you're holding onto the blade and when you're putting it back together as such so it doesn't drop out. One of our little attachments that go into our Thermomix that comes with your package is this thing here. And this is called a butterfly. Now, the best way to remember how we use this butterfly is thinking about a butterfly itself with 4 sections to the wings. And think of this as a butterfly with 4 sections, but also that it should not go beyond speed 4. It actually does have a safety marker on it to say that speed 4 is the maximum speed. And where this goes in is basically it sits snuggy onto the blades like that. You give it a little twist and you'll notice that you can't lift it out, and then you twist it back and it does lift out. Now, this is great for creating whipping or air, if you need air in something like, say, you're making a meringue or something like that, or sometimes just to smooth out a beautiful mashed potato or stir through something quite slowly, like say something you've got some ingredients in with your risotto. So the butterfly, when it is required, will actually highlight on a recipe within our Cookidoo platform, and you'll see that it'll say, now pop your butterfly in place. Okay, so that's the internal components there. Popping our Thermomix back on, and I'm going to show you one of the other added elements. Now, we take our measuring cup off, and I'll introduce you to what we call our aroma. The aroma is a word that is adapted from 2 words. So it's basically vapor and aroma. It comes up with the word aroma. And it's a 3-part system here. We've got our what we call our aroma dish, we've got the aroma tray, and then the aroma lid. Now, if it's all together, it sits nicely like this, and the base has got a round base, and I'll bring up our lid again. Our lid is round. So what happens here is the round base sits on the round lid, and that's how that actually sits. It doesn't lock in. It's all sitting there. It just sits on the top like this. And then when you're using a certain recipe that's calling for that steaming function, or you're taking your heat of your Thermomix up to the aroma temperature, you're making the most out of this steaming element here. You don't necessarily have to have the tray in place. So the tray can be removed and you can just use the dish and the lid, and you could do like a whole chicken in there, or you might do some vegetables and some protein on the top here. I've done something like a big 500 gram snapper on the top here, but I've also done some salmon and chicken fillets and some greens underneath. So the variety is there when it comes to multi-level cooking and steaming for sure. All right, one other thing that comes with your Thermomix is this little one here. And now this is new to Thermomix as well, and it's supporting the high heat function, which enables you to use that caramelization. So if you're using high heat for sugar work, or you're just caramelizing some onions, this is where this particular guard comes in place. And a recipe on the screen will call for this particular guard to be put in place. And again, we just remove our measuring cup and we pop our splash guard in place. The arms will lock in automatically as per the recipe when that step appears, and that will protect you and your kitchen when using the high heat function. Okay, so there's a few things as far as our accessories are concerned that come with your Thermomix. I just want to take you down now onto the screen, but this is where I encourage you to get in contact with your consultant so that you can actually further the journey and understand your machine and all the modes that come with the Thermomix. But let's go down to the screen. So on the Thermomix main screen, you'll see that we've got what we call our selector button, and that's how we turn our machine on and off. Our screen itself is touch screen technology. So when we touch the screen, the circle that we're touching appears and enlarges. So say in this one here in the center, that's our temperature control. And if I use my selector, I can take this or set it to any temperature I like. And before I spoke about the word aroma, which is our steaming temperature, and you'd need to take that dial all the way around to activate that aroma function. Again, this is our timer, tapping it, looking at the dial, turning the dial to set your timer. The one on the far right is our speed, and our speed controls the consistency of the food that comes out. And I spoke about before, when it's in forward motion, it's where you'll see the food chopping, milling, grinding. And when it works in reverse, by tapping this little button in the center here, and it's in reverse mode, the blades will now work in a reverse mode and just stir through the food. So forward and reverse is how we work that. Now, this is where I want you to contact your consultant for further information. Swiping left and swiping right is where we get our added features. All our cooking modes are here, and your consultants can take you through each one of those modes. Swiping in the opposite direction enables you to get access to our Cookidoo, which is our recipe platform. And scrolling up, you can see that there's lots of interaction, videos, links, recipes for you to search. So please do contact your consultant so that you can find out the details about how this area of the Thermix works, all the recipes, the menu planning, and everything else that comes with your device. We do run various classes. The classes will support you. One of the classes is called our Cookidoo tutorial and talks about how to include recipes that you can create yourself and then store on our platform. So it's now time. You've got some of the basics now ready to go, but please reach out to your consultant for, again, further support on getting started, how to work through Cookidoo, and how to really understand all those cooking modes. And I'm sure then once you've done that, you'll be ready to go and enjoy the experience with Thermix. I look forward to hearing you and seeing you at some of our online cooking classes or in-person events in Sydney, in Waterloo. My name's Linda Petroni. Thanks for joining me.